Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. Today is Thursday, January 15th. From talking cars backstage to talking the future of finance, this is your place for helpful news, commentary, answers to your crypto questions. And today, I couldn't be pleaseder to welcome back our good friend, Gian, a.k.a. Ruto from Polygon. Welcome back to the show, my brother. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, boys. I'm doing good. It's funny. I think a lot of people on the team were all, we did like a really crazy sprint for January. So it's been like a little quiet today and yesterday, just because I think everyone's, we were locked in for so long, and now we're chilling a little bit, ending out the week. So yeah, doing good, man.
Yeah, you had a big week, like a really big week.
Yeah, I mean, you just casually beat Visa at their own game officially. I mean, it's wild. Oh God. Anyway, we'll let you break down the news, but yeah, you guys are like kings of the space right now.
Let me read a direct quote from Ruto from the other day as we were discussing this. He said, quote, "I just realized that I had the content brief in your DMs this morning and it didn't send because my Wi-Fi went out." And that was all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, rug.
Yeah, so for people who have missed it, we will do a quick recap. But I want to invite you, if you've got a question, of course, leave it in the comments. Let us know how you're doing. I see here Chad has a question about moving, for example, Algorand from crypto.com to an Arculus wallet. If we miss something like that you need help with, then where I want to make sure you go is community.rumshq.com. That's the website. Type it in your browser. It's totally free to sign up for a profile. That's the best place where the show lives 24/7. If you've got a question like that where you need help, you need a second opinion, you're worried you're being scammed, something like that, make sure you put it there too, because we might miss it on the show and we don't want to miss it. We want you to get the help you need. Community.rumshq.com. Okay, I am just going to take us right to it because that's the news of the day. Polygon's the belle of the ball. And I saw this last night, but I hadn't realized it until I had it on the screen share. I absolutely love the new bio change for Polygon here. The payment solution for payment solutions. That's so cheeky, man.
It is. It's good.
So, Gian, there's a lot that's happened. Can you walk us through maybe like the best place to start? Polygon is announcing this fruition of a vision it's had for a while to bring money on chain. We've talked about the ag layer before, but this week a lot of stuff has happened. Make sense of it for us. What do we need to know?
Yeah, so I think for starters, I think what we announced last week, I guess we can start there. So last week we announced the open money stack vision. So, and it's funny because we were talking in the group chat, and you guys were like, well, this seems like doesn't seem like anything really new, because obviously you guys have been around, and so you realize that our pivot into the payments sector has been going on for some time. Like, we've been really harping on it for, I think, probably the last 8 months or so.
Yeah, I feel like it. Yeah.
When was Aishwarya here? Because he was, we kind of started talking. We had him on the show specifically.
That would have been spring. It was springtime.
Okay.
In 2025,
yeah.
So almost exactly a year ago. And I feel like the vision was so clear, like this is the future of money on chain. So I was kind of like, okay, are you announcing the announcement? I was kind of like hard about it. I was like, guys, this is what everybody says.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you know how it is. The announcement of the announcement for a lot of teams, it does happen. But I think us announcing the open money stack vision was pretty coordinated in the sense that it was the lead up of everything that it was the lead up of everything we were going to announce Tuesday. So we wanted to give people context, especially since we were making such a big like PR push to really get this out into the broader market. A lot of people know who Polygon is, right? I think it's been around for quite some time, 2017. And so there's a lot of people that don't really know what's going on with Polygon. So I think announcing the open money stack vision was a good way to have a good lead up to our announcement on Tuesday, and also get people familiar with okay, what has Polygon been focusing on, and what is Polygon doing moving into the future. So I think that initial announcement will set a really good foundation for Tuesday, which I'm sure we'll get into exactly what all that entails. So if you want, I can get into it now, or
Well, can you? I think you could, just for people who don't know, who haven't been here for all the interviews, all the context. What is the open money stack? Like, what are the different bricks in this pile? And I'll pull up the visual so that they can see it too.
Yeah, sure. So the open money stack is essentially one interoperable stack to enable instant and reliable money movement anywhere to anyone. So I can give a lot of like technical mumbo jumbo and jargon, but think of it as just one single all-encompassing stack where you have identity and compliance, wallets, on and off ramps, yield and earning, and then the rails or infrastructure all in one, ready to go packaged box. The purpose of why we were doing this in the first place. So I don't want to go too deep in the woods with this, but I think a lot of people kind of realize what have chains been doing in the past, right? I think a lot of people saw them as general purpose, where, okay, you go to one chain, you have an entire ecosystem of different verticals. And I think over the years, people have really truly found out, especially those working on protocols or chains, they found out that being general purpose, if you are building something for everyone, you're not really building something for anyone. So I think what a lot of protocols or chains doing now is they're trying to figure out, what are we very good at? What is our chain used for the most? And then how do we optimize that? And for Polygon, the easy answer to that was payments. And this was happening pretty organically for years. And so I think within the last year and a half, we kind of went back and said to ourselves, this is something that I think proves to be one of the best use cases for crypto. And our chain is built for this. And all that culminated into us announcing this open money stack vision. So to give you guys reference, it's about a $1.8 quadrillion of payments that happen throughout the world. We've been able to do about 5 billion transactions already through payments on Polygon. And it's a pretty big mountain to climb, but our goal is that we'll be able to move all payments on chain. And the hope is that everything happens on Polygon. So the open money stack is just, hey, this is how banks and payments work today. This is how it works on Polygon, where banks, it's, your money or transfers go through a ton of different middlemen, partners, and all this stuff. But with Polygon, it's essentially just you and the recipient. The transaction cost is fractions and fractions and fractions and fractions of a penny. And it happens, in seconds. So really fast settlement. And that's kind of the whole point of the open money stack, is to unlock this freedom for peer-to-peer transactions or payments in general for users across the world.
Yeah, man. It was seeing it in that graphic like that and understanding how it comes together. I think I said it to you, everybody promises this kind of thing, but I realized as I read through the article and looked at it that this was not an announcement so much of like what is to come. This is more like a clarification of what you've been doing. Everybody has been racing to build, I don't know, guys, what? Everybody needed a DEX. Then they needed a bridge, and then they needed a wallet, and then other wallets started to integrate them. That was like the story of general purpose blockchains. And then people started to notice a difference. You would have a blockchain spin up and it would get those things. And then you'd say, well, it's just the same as everybody else. But I do think Polygon has probably done some of the most meaningful differentiation, not only in payments by the numbers, but also, we talked about this the other day, Ruto, is apps. Dude, everybody who's a killer app is building there. So you've got all these pieces that form this, this stack. It really is very mature. It's well-fledged. So it wasn't a surprise to me that, I don't know, that you guys made such a strong impact last year when you were talking about ag layer, and now this is like, of course, it's the fruition. It's like the blossoming of the flower. Okay, so then you've got also big acquisition news.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Big acquisition news. This one was tough to keep in for a lot of us.
I had never even heard of CoinMe and Sequence, and when I read this,
I hadn't either.
How prevalent they are, I was like, where are they? So fill the people in. You've acquired or have agreed to acquire
Sequence either?
Yeah,
Both of you?
I'm honest
Nah,
to God.
nah.
I am a Luddite, man.
Dude,
I then Googled it and was like, oh wow.
that's wild.
Yeah, so I'll read kind of like the keynote in our blog post too. And if you guys are interested in the blog post, you can. It's just go to polygon.technology, and at the bottom you'll see a lot of our blog posts, and this kind of covers everything. But essentially, what the deal entails, it's just it strengthens Polygon's thesis and our $2 trillion plus of on-chain volume with at scale fiat coverage. So we're talking. This acquisition is $1 billion in off-chain sales. It also encompasses battle-tested wallets and cross-chain infrastructure. So to give like a big TLDR, think of CoinMe as Polygon being able to unlock kind of the retail market. CoinMe has over 50,000 locations, retail locations across the United States. And when you think of Sequence, think of it as like a smart wallet intent kind of product where you're able to do one-click transactions. So, whenever you're thinking about gas fees or swaps or bridging for like a retail audience, that could be kind of convoluted and kind of complex. So what having Sequence allows us to do is to not only be able to completely get rid of those friction points. So whenever users go to pay for something, and Polygon's the kind of underlying rail for that, users don't have to worry about gas. They don't have to worry about bridging assets because any token can essentially work for this. And it's all just done in one click. So Sequence, the acquisition of Sequence allows us to kind of unlock this technology. And if you encompass it or put it on top of CoinMe, which allows Polygon to also have regulated US access across all 48 states. So that's like a pretty major unlock for us, where a lot of chains will say, okay, well, we have payments in the US, but this is actually like regulated US access. And through CoinMe, it allows us to do that. And then again, Sequence, making everything super easy for users to just one click pay for something. So it feels super natural, as if nothing's really changed, but the underlying structure and tech support that you get from a one-click transaction on chain is just so good for like a retail audience or anybody using it.
I really like what it said. It was super cheeky. I put it up on the screen share for people in podcast land. When you go to polygon.technology, the banner at the top says, "It's not our first trillion."
Correct.
And
Yeah,
all these
two
other little
trillion.
bitty stats. Amazing. And I remember when Alex was telling me about the fees from the other day, he pinged me. He was like, hey, got an update from Ruto about the fees. You guys are ahead of all, like, is it all L2s and ETH in terms of how many fees you're generating, at least recently, based on activity?
What's the question? Sorry, I was reading.
No. The question I was asking about fees generated lately. I think the other day it was like $400,000 in fees. Not to say that that's an extractive fee. It's very, very cheap to move money on Polygon. But the fact that the other day you made that much money, that's a significant amount of money for a blockchain to make.
Yeah, it's funny because when people are talking about fees, a transaction cost on Polygon will be 0.0004 cents. And so even if like fees were increased by 2x, we would still be much, much cheaper than vast majority of chains out there. So we still hold strong on like being one of, if not the cheapest blockchain to do transactions on.
Now I will tell you this.
Fees have been crazy. Fees have been going bananas. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the actual stats for it, but yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Okay, I will tell you this. The other day I had to send some tokens. I was sending some USDC on Polygon, and I was thrilled about it. I was excited because I don't personally move a ton of money there. Just you know how it is, the architecture we have. Polygon is everywhere. It's easy to access, but I tend to use Coinbase as an on-ramp, and they really push hard for you to use Base. They make it like, we will pay the fees for you. We'll give you extra. You know what I mean? So I tend to move a lot of USDC on Base because of where I live in my setup. But the other day I was moving some USDC on Polygon, and I was looking forward to the experience. Couldn't wait to tell everybody how fast and cheap it was. But I do have to tell you, it was frustrating for me. I had to reinitiate the transaction, and I was curious if somebody like me is having friction like that. Is it harder to move larger amounts? Is it a fluke? Is it a whatever? I wanted to ask people to test this for themselves. But I also wanted to ask you, Ruto, and to let you know, like, oh, man, last week, it might have been because everybody was busy because of the announcement, but I think I had to wait. I don't know. Alex, I texted you about it. I think I had to wait 4 hours for a transaction to get rejected. And
the
then,
follow-up question is that we recently had those, there was a couple RPC-specific issue. It's been a few weeks now, and I would assume that it's over, but there's nothing lingering from that whole thing, or?
Yeah,
No,
basically
so
my
what's-
question is
what's
not, like, why did you guys, like, why did you guys punk me? But my question is, should people expect some friction if there's going to be increased activity, changes like that, fees, fluctuations, or is this, essentially a fluke and I should go back and try it again?
So I have to be careful about what I say on it, not because it's a bad thing, but because we're actively doing something internally. How can I frame this? So I think we announced something not too long ago. We talked about the Bilal hard fork. So this would allow for faster TPS, faster throughput. So that's what we've been really trying to focus on for moving into next year as well. So we're trying to be like a lot more performant. So
Sure.
we're already have the capacity for near 5,000 TPS. Our goal for
Yeah.
like 2026 and moving into like 2027 is to get to 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 TPS transactions per second for those who aren't aware. And so what comes with that is a lot of the engineering team, a lot of our like big priorities have been, well, I'm not on the engineering team, but a lot of the priorities within the team is
Sure.
to get this to be more performant. And with that comes a lot of like technical changes on the back end. So you can expect to have a little bit of hiccups here and there. And that's what we've been seeing a little bit recently is a little bit of those issues. But I can assure you, as soon as they happen, pretty much all 100+ engineers are all over it to make sure that everything goes smoothly.
So there's some traffic cones out right now. There's a little bit of construction. Might have a hiccup or two along the way, but soon there'll be a 6-lane highway where once there was 5.
Exactly. I mean, to be fair too, like in December alone, Polygon processed about $1.12 billion in transactions and payments. So obviously we're seeing a ton of like surge on the chain, which is good. And then because of that, you're seeing a lot of fees, right? So we're doing around $400,000+ in chain revenue a day. So I mean, we're second across all chains outside of Ethereum, which is pretty great for us. And our goal is to continue to expand that. And I think what's great is that this chain revenue that we're accruing goes back into POL value, which is good. So the more we burn tokens that way too, through gas fees, chain revenue, and it's been crazy, man. I think all the volume that we're seeing, 1.12 billion in just December alone. The goal is to continue to scale that. I think by this year, I think we were having internal chats about having, the goal being, $3 to $5 billion a month of payments being processed. So with that comes more fees, right? More fees generated, more revenue generated for Polygon. And the hope is that continues to give value to holders, stakers, people in the ecosystem. So
That's the question we have here: is the Polygon coin, the token, going to be used in all of this? Will was looking at it the other day on the charts, giving it a second look. Alex and I have talked about it in terms of our value accruing to the company and value accruing to the token. But can you explain just how it is that if Polygon is powering payments and the POL token powers Polygon, like how does that flywheel work?
Yeah, it's funny because we had Mark, our CEO. He actually did a he did a whole Twitter Spaces talking about exactly this, on how POL kind of accrues value there. So the more fees that are generated or more transactions that are happening, a POL gets burned, so it becomes very deflationary. A lot of the fees also go back into to help support staking validators. So if you are staking, then you are also earning that way, so through yield. And yeah, so the goal is to have it be like a burning mechanic on top of giving a lot of that value back to stakers and validators. So it creates like that simple flywheel where the more transactions that happen, the more validators and stakers get rewarded. The more people that stake POL, the less in circulation on top of the amount of POL being burned. Again, just becomes, continues to be deflationary. And our goal is to make sure that over time we are burning POL at a significant pace while also rewarding stakers and validators at a much faster pace as well. So that's like a super high level, up top breakdown of it. If you guys are curious about exactly what all that entails, I can link basically like a live discussion with our CEO of exactly how that looks like.
I was looking for the Twitter space. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, the burn mechanic is interesting because it burns 100% of the base fee, and then there's also a reward that goes to validators, so base fee, and then there's like a tip to validators. But like, thanks for staking, everybody. But it's also interesting because it's not like there's a certain percentage of amount of Polygon that gets burned each time. It's like it depends on, at least from my understanding, Gian. It's like a scale. It's like if there's lower usage, then the base fee is maybe like, I don't know, like 20 or 30% of the total fee. But as it scales up, it might be like 90% of the total fee, right? As like usage scales. So like I saw that scales upwards. But the important thing is to know that if you are trying to understand like what this whole burn or buyback, whatever you want to call it, burn, reduction of supply mechanic is, it's tied to actual usage. So it only becomes impactful on price, air quotes here, if the usage is super high. And if you go to the Polygon scanner here, it's been climbing since the middle of July, really, of 2025. Total daily transactions, let's see, in April actually was 2.8 million, and we currently right now are at 6.27, where we hit a high. Let's see if I can get my cursor on this. Come on.
7.7.
Oh, thank you.
Million.
I'm glad you know it off the top of your head. And so we're seeing like a steady rise here. I've also been curious kind of what happened in January, right at the end of 2023 into 2024. You have this massive spike here, and then we kind of normalized. Do you happen to know or remember what that was?
I remember we were going over it. Like I think because we have a data team, so they're able to like kind of feed us a lot of like really bullish narratives or just data sets that help continue to push this narrative of payments. But I remember going over, I'm like, hey, what, like this is a pretty insane spike. I remember they gave me an answer, and I don't remember what it is.
The specific date per the column here says 16 million transactions Thursday, November 16th, 2023. 2023.
Yeah, that was so. But mind you, I didn't work here in 2023. So
yeah.
Why not, Ruto?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. And then we've seen steady increase since the summertime. I know there's been Revolut and a number of things, and you guys have been getting kind of like steady adoption. But I'm just kind of curious: was there a noticeable kind of pivot, or maybe like business move, or adoption, or partnership that started happening in the summertime that really started to create that kind of healthy up curve that we're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, to be frank, that's pretty much aligns with when we were going all in with specific business partners that were all in on payments. So I think during that time, July, man, what was going on? We were doing stuff with Reliance Jio, which is like India's largest telecom giant. So they had basically an app or a platform that opened up Polygon to 400 million of their users. We were also doing stuff with Brazilian and Argentinian payments companies. So what's their name? I can't remember off the top of my name, but it's a company that we
Mercado
partnered with.
Pago?
No,
It's not a company, but that's like a service, I think.
It's another one, but we partnered with a South American company where they were handling millions and millions and millions of dollars in transactions daily or weekly.
Is it
in South
Contigo?
America. No, I gotta remember the name, man. I even covered it. Like I specifically did a video on it and everything.
Well, the summertime is like 5 years ago in crypto, so you know.
I know it was so long ago, man. But yeah, the thesis was that, and that was around the time where we were doing a lot of business partnerships with big payment companies, so across the world. So not just in the U.S., but in South America. South America actually is like a really, really, really flourishing area for crypto payments. So for those who maybe you live in South America, depending on where you're at, it's really normalized of doing on-chain payments. So we made a really big push for that, and you know the kind of the stats from there started kind of ramping up. But right now we're on an 11th consecutive week of growth for micropayments. We did almost 70 million the first week of January in micropayments. So that when you think micropayments, we actually lead the market when it comes to micropayments. What that tells you is that these are people who are actually using the chain for everyday use, whether it be peer-to-peer, cross-border payments, you know, goods or commerce, all this stuff. So, you know, I think our average is around $45 per transaction that happens on Polygon. Interesting to note, I think I saw someone comment about XRP and how it's different. This is probably the easiest TLDR that I can post for it. So XRP kind of claims or suggests that millions of people are using XRP every day for payments, like they use credit cards. But the data doesn't really support this. Average users, the average XRP payment in January, just alone for this year, let's say, is around $3,200, which confirms its kind of use as like a wholesale rail. So it would be way too high to say that's for consumers, for a consumer use, where like the consumers usually average $20 to $100 if you're using, you know, on-chain payments every day. If you compare it to Polygon processed $1.4 billion in stablecoin transactions in 2025, averaging $45 each. So if you want to talk about like the real world retail leader with 14 million monthly active users, XRP's active addresses count remains lower. It peaked around 110,000 during its like highest activity week. So pretty stark contrast. The amount of volume that happens on, obviously, if you're talking Ripple, right? It's high because it's like, again, it's like kind of like a wholesale rail where Polygon has like actual individual users using it for payments.
Yeah,
Alex,
and
sorry, go ahead.
oh, no, if you have a question for Alex.
No. I wanted him to bring in some of the context he got from Emily yesterday that he was talking about backstage, but you go first. That'll prep him. He'll be ready.
Well, but mine is more so about like I really wanted to just kind of hammer in on again, like why the acquisitions that Polygon made are such a big deal. So Alex, go ahead.
So Ruto, I'm curious. Correct me if I make a mistake here, but this is we talk a lot about the. I wanted to de-jargonify a few things. One of the things that gets talked about a lot, a word that is really making the rounds in crypto, is the idea of a flywheel. And this is not necessarily new. It's kind of been a thing that people have talked about, honestly, going back to all of the NFT projects that claim to be building DeFi flywheels in 2021. I heard that all the time, and it has become kind of meaningless. But I want to describe, first of all, like what an actual flywheel is, and then how this kind of fits into it and where these particular acquisitions fit into the equation, because I think it's interesting. So theoretically, a flywheel is basically just like a mechanism by which action leads to more action, which circles back and inspires again the first action, which then continues, and it becomes self-sustaining. Item A begets item B begets item C, which goes back and triggers item A to start again, and it kind of just rotates and keeps itself going. That's the concept.
The sun is out, it evaporates water, water goes into the sky, it rains back into the ocean, it gets evaporated again from the sun, back in the sky, it rains. That's a flywheel.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it.
Can I add a little specific context around the Paul token flywheel too?
Well, I'm
Sure.
about to tell you what the entire
Tell me.
flywheel is.
Tell me what the flywheel is.
Okay, so start with a desire. There's a desire for people, I am people, to move money on chain, and to also be able to remove it from the chain if they so choose. So desire one. CoinMe's acquisition specifically fits into the very beginning of this equation, because the biggest friction point for me, and for I would imagine lots of people, are cheap, easy, seamless, and easily accessible on and off ramps without having to necessarily, spin up a whole bunch of secondary and tertiary accounts and then keep track of way more shit. So CoinMe helps with the fiat to crypto, fiat to on-chain rail system in both directions. So we'll come back to that. Sequence, then, like you mentioned, helps with tech abstraction. So it just makes it less involved for you to go through that whole process. It becomes easier and more seamless and more just like the same way that you would feel about connecting a debit card to Venmo, and how that's like a really easy, seamless experience for most people. And in this one, the money's not imaginary, so it's cool. Capital then flows as people use these beginning things, and that's where the ag layer comes into play. Because the whole point of the ag layer is that all of these different chains that would like to then get proximity to the ease of this flywheel can connect through the ag layer, which is basically just this warm, fuzzy blanket that covers everybody and lets all of them share liquidity under the comfort and safety of this fuzzy blanket. So capital
It's a
flows
little
through.
creepy.
No, it's not.
How about a hub and spoke, man? Come on. Like,
No,
come on to my
no.
blanket.
Warm, fuzzy blanket. Who doesn't like a warm, fuzzy blanket? What's wrong with it?
it?
Don't make my blanket creepy. Okay, so then you can let's take an example of something that has proximity that we've talked about, that Polygon has had a hand in, which all of a sudden becomes a lot more interesting. Specific options and DeFi rails enabled by Katana, connected through all of these different processes and pieces by the ag layer, then becomes much easier for people to use. Because I don't know if you're like me, a user of Katana, but frustrated by the friction of needing to do a lot of bridging, and then bridging to remove, and making sure that gas is in the right token in the right place at the right time to do the right thing, and all that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily hard, but there's a lot of steps, and it's prohibitive. So this helps with that, which all of a sudden makes Katana even more interesting. Okay, so then, you can earn yield there. This comes back in. Increased yield from increased users attracts more users. So we're already kind of circling back a little bit to the beginning, because then those new users who get attracted have an easier time entering the system. More users doing more stuff increases payment volume. More payment volume increases the number of fees on the chain. The chain making more revenue is good, because they can continue to then support things and efforts and teams and projects and stuff in the ecosystem that attracts more users and brings in more people and does more stuff. And those people, again, go back to the beginning, have a much easier time getting in and doing stuff thanks to these two acquisitions specifically. More fees burns more POL, which enhances the investability of the token. And at a time when a token that's starting to get interesting is like almost 90% down from its all-time high, that is worth noting. So then the POL price, theoretically, if we followed logic when it comes to value and price increases in digital assets, would be increasing thanks to increased usage and more scarcity. More users get attracted because of that attractive price action. Nothing is a better bumper sticker than a green candle. So then, again, back to the beginning, more people come in, easier onboarding, more stuff to do, more fees. All of this stuff continues to kind of ramp up and gather steam, which feeds step one over and over again. More users get attracted. More chains are incentivized to participate in ag layer, because this is a really attractive loop that you would really like to participate in. And if you can do that in a way where the thing that matters is not whether or not your chain has any sycophants, but whether or not your apps are any good, that all of a sudden what you really want is an infrastructure layer to where you don't have to worry about all that kind of crap, and you can just focus on branding and growing and being fun and easy to use and all that sort of stuff. So it shifts the burden of responsibility on the project side away from having to solve a whole bunch of technical problems that maybe you didn't really want to deal with, or you are, too time consumed with the rest to worry about. That's where mistakes happen. So that's very attractive. More chains coming in means liquidity deepens. And remember, because we're all under this warm, fuzzy blanket, all of a sudden that starts to get easier and easier and easier, and it's more attractive, and everybody wants to put their liquidity under this blanket. And then there's just more reasons to onboard, because the whole thing is getting more attractive and more people are using it. And all of a sudden there are more apps where more people are doing stuff and they don't even necessarily realize that they're doing it. Everyone uses Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. All of a sudden you have on-chain options where the money's not imaginary. It can earn you yield. It's plugged into various DeFi options. The on and off ramps are way easier. There's more physical locations thanks to CoinMe, all this kind of stuff. Back to the beginning, the whole thing starts again. And that's a flywheel.
Let me give you some specific numbers that'll tee Will up to set the significance for this acquisition. With regard to Polygon and Paul's flywheel, at its current usage rates, this is per Sandeep Nawal, so you can trust that it's got some credibility here. A single day burn rate of 3 million Paul tokens, just based on fees and activity, would make it so that it would be at the year's end more than 5% deflationary. A burn rate of even 1.5 million Paul tokens from fees a day through all those apps being used, like Alex talked about, would still result in a burning of 5% of Paul supply every year. What does a shrinkage of supply to do? It increases demand. Who does this benefit? Is not just people who are holding the token, but especially people who are staking it. This is why at the start of the year, when we were talking about Katana, the ag layer, we started with staking Paul tokens. It doesn't matter where you're doing this. If you are staking inflation, 100 million Paul per year goes directly to people who are staking their tokens. So on one hand, you've got this shrinkage of supply from usage. And then on the other hand, the distribution of tokens is going to people who are staking to validate the network. That is part of what's happening. 100 million tokens every year are released to stakers that way. And then all the ag layer fees, 100% of core interoperability fees, which are currently set to 0, are designed also to go to Paul stakers. So that's the difference. And when you compare it to XRP specifically, the usage, the fees, they're not economically significant the same way for that token. And they don't have the same kinds of value capture mechanisms to attract great apps, to take advantage of any liquidity that might be there, to incentivize people to accrue fees to the token.
They're built completely differently.
They're built different.
One of them is designed to encourage, speculative trading and holding based on the perceived might of the issuer. The other one is a necessary piece of a mechanism that in theory would increase in demand, legitimate demand, after the mechanism itself attracts the users to use the thing.
Yeah, I would call it, you ready for this? A non-productive utility token.
Yes.
Their
There's a
value
lot of
depends
that.
primarily on speculation.
To be fair, that's most stuff.
Most tokens I would call utility tokens are not actually productive.
So, fun little aside, just because you touched on it, Will, when you mentioned the base fee scaling, which could send, a tip can go to validators, but the fees itself, they don't go there. Something interesting just passed yesterday, which I think got drowned out by all of the other stuff. But it's I assume Polygon improvement proposal number 69 passed yesterday.
Hey.
Did you guys see that?
No,
I did not.
Okay, so it's kind of interesting. It's a really technical, very specific improvement, but it does something really interesting. So basically, it enables the approve function for liquid staking tokens to be issued natively with ERC standard. I'm going to say the wrong number. I think it's 621, but don't quote me on that yet.
Could be 6.7.
It's definitely not. Oh, it's 20. Don't come for me. 2612. ERC 2612 is the specific approval here. But what's interesting is that you might say to yourself, like, okay, well, wait, I thought I thought Matic, now Paul, already had liquid staking tokens because like Anchor gives you a liquid staking token. Not really. That's a custodial workaround. They create it. They stake the POL natively for you. They create the liquidity token. They give it to you. Then that enables it. So now, basically, what this does, because the one concern for like the way that fees are structured might be that like, hey, validators are not properly incentivized to keep doing it. They might go do something else. This is the solution to that. It's like a really technical little fix that all of a sudden just incentivizes, because how much of the Polygon supply is staked? Like more than 35%. It's a lot.
Right. Oh
It's a
my
lot.
gosh,
Yeah.
that's wild.
And
Yeah.
pre PIP 69, it was, I don't want to say useless because it was like obviously doing its job, but it was effectively useless in the DeFi sense, in that like a lot of it was locked and doing its thing there. It wasn't as mobile as liquid staking tokens elsewhere. And now that can change, which is very cool.
Will, I hope we took a thorough enough detour not to rug you, but to set you up well.
Yeah, because I'm gonna simplify everything here in like,
like it.
if you want like a quick little headline or you just like a quick few sentences to understand why these acquisitions are a big deal. But first of all, Gian, how dare you bring a Yankees cap onto a stream with me? Now, secondly, and more importantly,
Did
If
notice
you-
the subtle, for podcast land, Will very subtly,
as soon as Gian put on his Yankees cap, I was like, "Fuck this."
while pouting.
Yeah, fuck this.
It
I
was like a
"Fuck this."
visual but quiet war.
Yeah, exactly. And one person saw it, goes, "I guess Will doesn't like the Yankees." I go, yeah, you're goddamn right. I fucking don't like the Yankees. I'm not a sports guy, but I am with the Red Sox. Yeah, if you want to understand why these acquisitions are a big deal, and like earlier, if you were around on the live, or maybe you fast forward if you're watching this in the future, why I said, yeah, Polygon is now like better than Visa, like, which is a pretty crazy thing to say if you say it and you don't understand what's happened here. But with these two acquisitions, it's done two things. So today, if you wanted to use Polygon, you had to like onboard with, your take your cash and turn it into crypto essentially, right? So you had to go through like your Kraken, your Coinbase, your Binance or whatever, and then go on Polygon. And then you have a wallet experience. So you have to have the skill set of understanding how to use your wallets, right? Which isn't complicated, but if it's a new skill, might be a little scary, right? And go through that and go backwards through the system if you want to get your money off chain. Now, with these two acquisitions, Polygon owns a bunch of crypto on and off ramps, and also takes the wallet experience and just kind of like pushes that into the background. So you can take your money and put it directly onto Polygon now through these acquisitions, in the same way you can with Visa and Venmo and Stripe as well. And you don't have as much of a classic Web3 crypto experience with the wallets too. So better experience, more familiar to how people use the internet and send money today. And you have an easier direct on and off ramp. And then with the transactions that are happening on Polygon with their partnerships and stuff, like, you now have a faster, cheaper, and just as easy experience as your Visas, your Venmos, your Stripes, and the traditional big players of the space today. So like it's a big deal. It really reduces that barrier to entry for like the global populace. It's a big deal.
And that's every one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it.
It's great, man.
Yeah, it's cool stuff, man.
It's
So
cool.
congrats.
It's cool because I think for a lot of people who came into crypto, obviously like the speculative nature of it all was what made it kind of like fun and enticing. Obviously, it made it a really cool vehicle to make money in as well. But I think what we've come to realize, especially in the last 2 years, is I think actual use cases of this technology is going to be just more and more and more important as we move into the future. So I'm glad that a company like Polygon is focusing on what I think is one of the, if not the most important use case of kind of blockchain. So it's kind of unlocking, the internet unlocked, a ton for the world as far as, freedom of information. And I think what blockchain does and what Polygon's trying to do is unlock that same value of freedom with people's payments or money. So yeah, it's exciting times. It's going to be really awesome to see what all this looks like in the next 5-10 years. Like our kids, for example, like we're talking about this because it's cool and it's like innovative, but our kids are going to be around and it's going to seem so normal, like such a normal thing, right? And we're gonna be like, damn, I remember the days when this was like kind of a cool big deal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all this stuff is actually happening, man. So it's cool. All the it's crazy to see how much has changed in just the, you know, the 5 years that I've worked professionally in crypto, just in that span of time. So yeah, it's exciting, man.
Dude, the culture of each cycle, if you will, has just been like so drastically different from one another, but it has definitely been a scale of like complete and total Wild West to kind of wherever we are now. It has been kind of definitely heading the other direction of like, all right, like what can we actually do in this space? What's actually useful? Where is there actually an appetite? Like there's been enough experimentation to kind of figure out what's actually gonna be used first, and like very clearly it's kind of going back to the first use case of crypto in the first place, which is payments and also, you know, store of values. Yeah, it's kind of funny how that refocus comes after the, you know, let's put dentists on chain of 2017 into, hey, DeFi summer, which is great and all that, to, hey, pictures of monkeys, to like, hey, you know, back and forth. But
it's the perfect time to buy.
you know, the culture is always different.
Oh, man. Gian, I know you got to get going, so I am glad to give you time for a final thought, a last question, and ask for our audience anything we can do to support you, brother.
No, man. I think the community and hopefully this is like exciting if this is like stuff that you're interested in. But more than that, I just want to say thanks to you guys, man. It's always a pleasure coming on here. I try my best to listen to as many of the Rise Up Morning Show as I possibly can. So for those, I see a lot of like familiar faces too. So I can tell that a lot of people feel the same way. So I just appreciate you guys allowing for not just Polygon, but a bunch of other builders and people in the industry to come on and kind of educate and also just shoot the shit and talk about all the cool stuff happening in crypto, man. So I appreciate it, guys.
Okay, hey, we actually have one quick question for you, which is people love you too, and you know who else they love is Nil, especially on TikTok. They miss Big Nil Collect.
I know, man. I know.
What do we got to do to get him on a live stream and back in the chat with the people?
You know what's funny is that even just last week, I like DM'd him and I was like, Nil, I feel like even I miss you, man. I feel like I'm not talking. I was like, I feel like I'm not talking to him as much as like when I first started. So it's likely because Nil's he's been cooking super
busy.
hard, man.
Yeah.
I did just invite him, and he said that he would do it. Right now, he's working a lot. He was on TikTok very specifically to do an experiment. He was the explorer that was sent over to wander around in a new frontier, and he accomplished that mission. And he's in a different department. He's working on his own stuff, and I don't want to like say anything personal, but I'm sure he'll share. He's helping out his family right now because they've had a nothing like super urgent or super pressing like for him and his kid and his wife. Everyone's good, but he's been helping with some parents and stuff like that recently.
So he's taking care of business.
Yeah.
Well, Nil, man, we love you. We appreciate you. We want you back. And today, Ruto, we couldn't have had more fun with you. So thank you again for joining us. He's my friend and he's yours. Gian the Rios on all socials. We'll see you again soon.
I appreciate it, boys. Cheers, everyone.
Bye for now, brother.
See you, dude.
Okay, I was going to pivot to airdrops because every time Gian comes on the show, we talk about airdrops, what he's farming. And so in his absence, here's what I will give you. I will give you a little screen share podcast land. Just got to listen to the audiobook version. This is from 2025, but it's still relevant. Ruto posted about airdrops and rewards coming from Polygon, Katana, Billions Network, and Maiden, all friends of the show. And the call to action, stake your POL. For people who have been following along with our DeFi tutorials lately, you are perfectly positioned to take advantage of this opportunity, okay? I am currently looking at Anchor, ANKR.com. We previewed how to do this last year, but a quick refresher that is going to be really familiar for anybody who's been watching the Jito series. You're coming to a liquid staking site. How simple is that? We are going to launch the app, which takes us over here. It will prompt us to connect our wallet and then simply start staking. You can stake not only POL tokens here, you can stake a lot of other assets here. But if you are staking POL, you can choose which network you want to stake it on. You got to connect your wallet. I don't have a good wallet connection right now because I've recently done some new wallet hygiene. So you got to take my word for it that the interface looks largely the same. You indicate the token, you grant the permission, how much you want to stake, you sign the transaction, you can unstake it at any time. And look at this. Where did it go? Airdrops, airdrops, airdrops. You guys know what I'm talking about, that little airdrops menu they used to have over here on Anchor?
I haven't been on Anchor in a minute, so.
Are you thinking about, because native
Oh, you know what
Polygon
I'm
staking,
thinking about? I'm thinking about staking.polygon.technology.
Yeah, they have
Take
an
two.
upcoming airdrops with listed approved validators.
In addition to staking at Anchor, you can stake at staking.polygon.technology. And maybe this one will let me connect. Let's take a look and see if my teaching wallet is here. Aha! I'm in business now. Check this out. Connect your wallet, and just the same, you can choose on this site which validator you want to delegate your stake to. To distribute power on the network, it says, please delegate to other top performing validators below. Some validators have already met their cap. You can see if they're taking a commission on your stake, how many of the checkpoints in the last however long, I think it's 30-day period, they have been present for and signed, and they assign them a little health status so you can choose to delegate to them. We can go over all of this in more detail in the community, but what I wanted to show you here was community airdrops. Check this out. All these different airdrops that are available or coming soon, confirmed for people who are staking their POL tokens. That's literally all you've got to do. You can choose the network you want to stake on. You can go to my account, become a validator, become a delegator, no problem. Become a delegator. Pick one, delegate, choose the amount, and then sign a transaction, and boom, you are staking. That's it. Just like Jito, it's all coming together. We can do more thorough tutorials in office hours or in the after show. I am going to do a Circle after show today for people who want to attend. You can head to community.rumshq.com, and after the show, we're going to hop in a video call together, and you can come up on stage and ask your questions. It's like this, but instead of being character limited by the comments, you can just talk with us back and forth. And this is exactly the kind of thing we work through as we get to know each other better there in the community. Will, you've got some breaking news for us in the private chat, but I'm glad to pivot to you because you deserve it after having a Yankees hat just foisted upon you midstream.
Thank you.
Are
I
you okay?
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I actually was zoning out a tiny bit as you were going through the Anchor website, and I was like, oh, I gotta pay attention again because I was just like, fucking Yankee. I was just thinking about the Yankees. I was just like, oh,
Before you break the news, can I answer a couple really quick questions about exactly what you just showed, Evan? And one disclaimer that you forgot.
Go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
So Anchor, like I was talking about before, is probably going to get a pretty significant tech change behind the scenes after PIP 69 is fully implemented, which enables real liquid staking tokens to happen. Right now, they are custodying the stake, and then they give you an LST in return, and you go do stuff with it, which you do custody. So that's how that breaks right now. It's a workaround to the fact that there's no like native enablement for liquid staking on Polygon native staking. So they work around for it, which is cool. We love them for it. On the main native Polygon staking, you'll notice that there's a thing that says commission. Like Evan said, that means that they're taking that amount out of the rewards that they then pay you back. And you'll notice that some of them are higher than others, and some of them are listed at 100%. Those are charity pools more than likely. You can read more about them specifically, but if you see one with a 100% commission, if you stake there, you're going to be contributing to whatever their cause is, but you won't earn the rewards. So just be aware of that. Mm-hmm. It's a choice you can make. It is a write-off on your taxes if you choose to do it that way. But if you are looking to stake and actually earn the rewards, pick something with a commission that's not 100%, obviously. And then the last question I think was just is POL on Coinbase? Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, they're everywhere. If you want to go buy some.
Because they're everywhere.
Okay. Continue. Sorry.
Take it.
Yeah. So the Clarity Act is dead on the Senate floor. The vote was canceled actually. So.
Mm-hmm.
The vote was canceled, and this happened after Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, pulled support on the bill. Now, there were some big concerns on the Clarity Act, which Alex has covered extensively on the show here. But just to put a few things simply, and then Alex fill in the gaps where I leave them. Concerns with the bill were that you wouldn't be able to earn interest on like cryptos that weren't being used. And that's a very vague term, but what it definitely would have done is you would have stopped earning interest on your stable coins held on like a Coinbase or, any centralized exchange or on a bank, because banks will be creating, their own stable coins or adopting USDC or something along those lines. In fact, in that case, you wouldn't be earning the interest, but the banks would be earning the interest, right? Also, there were, this would pretty much have killed tokenized stocks as well. So tokenized equities, they would have fed into directly to the SEC's, measurement of like the Howey test. And I'm not exactly sure what would break and wouldn't there, but it would have been like way more strict. And this also did a few things to DeFi as well. But those were the two headline pieces I saw and reasons why Coinbase pulled support and why a lot of the crypto industry was very worried about this Clarity Act. And a lot of people were looking at this going, hey, let's not pass this because this is actually worse than the current status quo. At the same time, like if it had passed, we would have had kind of like a rule book in place and we could have played along those rules. But at the same time, like it would have limited a lot of the things that we actually get to take advantage of today. Alex, any gaps there to fill in?
Kind of. So not really, honestly. Like you said, the concerns are that it purports to solve some stuff that it really doesn't solve, and so there's really no point passing it. The logic there being that no bill is better than a bad bill. And so it basically just needs more time. And it also, I would say, probably needs people who have an actual understanding of what they're governing to work on it. The concerning part about this whole thing is that a single CEO tweeted dissent and the entire Senate changed trajectory. That's concerning. It's also interesting to me that a bunch of companies in crypto diverged from Coinbase with this dissent, which is also interesting because you'd think that their incentives are aligned, and it really kind of calls into question motive. Notably, Kraken and Kraken doesn't really surprise me as taking an opposing stand. Their competitors, it probably just makes sense, substance aside. But Circle also diverged, which is interesting. Now, more than likely, that's just because Circle is a stablecoin issuer, but they've never been in charge of their own yield payments. That's never really been a thing. So I find that to be very interesting. That's not really their jam. But no, there's Brian's concerns were what you laid out. There's a de facto ban on tokenizing equities. There's this really vague language around what constitutes passive versus active yield, which of course, because they don't know, the bill doesn't really define. Although there's like one clause, I can't remember what section it's in, but it's like, it basically defines what the nature of active is. It's just not very encompassing, and it's kind of like an afterthought on a bumper sticker. And then there's just really a lot of argument about stablecoin yield. And this ties to Genius as well, because Genius is actually the bill that prohibits stablecoin issuers from paying yield, which is really interesting because that's a very capitalistic idea to allow companies doing a thing to incentivize customers to use their thing. That's kind
competition,
of the nature.
Baby.
Yeah, it's the nature of capitalism. So it's really weird. It should say a lot that is the piece that's getting opposed, and it's mostly just because it's being opposed by a very unified banking lobby who is exactly the ones being threatened by non-bank financial institutions launching their own stablecoins and making a boatload of money doing it, which they now don't have to share with anyone, meaning they just keep it for themselves, which is actually, dude, Emily yesterday posted a video about Clarity. I reposted it. So if you go to my TikTok and repost, it's one of the most recent ones. And it just breaks down exactly why Genius is terrible. And she did the whole thing in one take. It's like a multi-minute video, and I don't think she took a breath the entire time. I don't know how she managed to do it, but it was impressive. So that's a good one to check out because she knows more about it than I do.
It's good, I think, that they're not voting on it.
Yes,
much better
it is good. The way that we got there concerns me.
I agree.
So I think everyone.
Yeah, it's just how Washington works. You have the lobbyists, and they do the things that they do, and the people go, "Oh no, my money for my next campaign," and then things happen.
No, but listen, we've had lobbyists. This is the next level. This is next level. This is not a lobby spending a lot of money. This is a single CEO going.
Yeah.
And Congress being like, "My bad," and taking it off the table. That's.
I didn't talk about this on the show yet, but I think I heard a new term the other day that's really apropos for what our government has become, and they called it neo-royalism.
Mm-hmm.
That, like the times of Louis XIV, when kings, they collected peonage and they appointed lords and ladies, we have this sort of neo-royalist society where leaders curry favors for people with power, mostly rich guys. Elon, Jeff Bezos, Brian Armstrong, and they accumulate power to themselves that they can use to reward their faithful and loyal friends and then punish or threaten potentially unloyal or enemy parties. It's a wild time to be alive, especially considering too, did you guys see this? I just saw a little blip when I was searching on Twitter that China made the digital yuan, the ECNY token, interest bearing at the end of the year.
Yeah, actually, Brian has been very vocal about praising that and saying that that is exactly what we need to be doing. And the fact that we're not just means they're going to win.
Yeah, again, basically, America is banning or trying to ban stablecoin yield while Beijing is paying for it. No problem. All my brothers and sisters in China, I love that for you. I'm really glad. Can you send some of that over here?
It's worth noting that a government choosing to do that is like symbolic because they make the rules and they also make the money.
Right.
So it really doesn't mean anything, but it's like, it's a consumer boost. It's a benefit to consumers. One might say it's a boon.
Well, it's also a boon to the CCP, the government, People's Republic of China, to incentivize people to get onto the thing that allows them to monitor them more. So the incentives there are aligned. Whereas
which also makes the currency more appealing than the US dollar for just, holding. It's a back and forth rivalry kind of a thing. It's multi-pronged.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And now in the States, we have, a little bit more fighting in between, whereas, government of China just gives a thumbs up or thumbs down to things, happen. But here we have the bank lobbyists right now versus the crypto lobbyists. And then they pull the puppet strings on the politicians, and we'll see who spends the most amount of money, and that'll be what happens.
I hope we win, but it's going to be so depressing when we do win that crypto banks just kind of become like the next great thing. It'll be banks, then it'll be crypto banks, and then we'll be like, oh man, this sucks.
Yeah, but just remember, DeFi will always exist. And even though the banks will just become crypto banks and then the banks will just be banks again, you still have the world of DeFi, and more people will get one step closer to that DeFi world, and ultimately you'll have more people in the DeFi space. So, it'll still be a bigger funnel to get people into DeFi and actually kind of improving things. And also crypto banks are going to be better than regular banks, even if they, as time goes by, probably whittle down those rewards that people get.
Yeah,
they most certainly will. They already are.
Yeah.
But in answer to the multiple comments I'm seeing about, and this question always comes up, like, okay, well, what the hell are you supposed to do about it? You don't even have to do anything that crazy. You just opt out. You don't have to use these things. Like the whole money system is a lie, that you are like forced to do very specific things, and you cannot leave. You cannot change course and do something else. Look wherever the people who are currently controlling your money tell you that don't worry, there's nothing to see over there. It's very much, I'm trying to think of an analogy from a movie where someone's like, oh no, you don't want to go over there, but you know what I mean? It's just like, there's nothing over there for you. And over there, like, literally lies prosperity. And, look at whoever is disincentivizing you from looking elsewhere to do other stuff. You can just not do it. You can opt out of the financial system in several ways. I've seen this comment as well. One of those is not paying your taxes. Can't really recommend that one, considering,
pay your taxes.
If you could somehow convince like 300 million people to not do it, something very notable would, of course, happen. But like, if that is not the case and just like a handful don't do it, you're just going to get in trouble. Unfortunately, it doesn't really solve any problems there. It probably just causes more for you. I guess maybe it makes a stand, but you can opt out of central banking. There are other places for money to exist. And that's kind of the whole point of everything we're doing here.
Send it to me. Send it to me.
I'll keep an eye on it for you.
Yeah, write it on the back of a $20 bill and just send it to Evan Mann. I said the other day,
Bank of Evan.
we were in Michigan visiting my family, and we were at a little cider mill, as one often does for the holidays or just anytime you can. And I was talking to a guy there, and he was talking about wanting to come on a road trip to Memphis, and I was like, "Oh, you really should." And when I said, "If you come, you should look us up," instead of giving this guy my phone number, I don't know him, or like trying to give him an email, I'm never going to check that. I said, "My name's Evan Mann. You can Google me." And I said it just like that, like not trying to be pretentious or anything. And Kimberly later, she was like, "I can't believe you said that to that guy. You can Google me." And she Googled me and she was like, "You're not even the first one that comes up." I was like, "Oh no." Bank of Evan, send me your money. Google me. I was like, no. I'm on my pretension arc. Hey, can I
Google me? And then you just like flip your hair and just walk away.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't say it to be pretentious, but now that I know I'm not number one, Evan Mann, who was at least partially a producer for Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, I am coming for that number one spot. Your time on the throne it's ticking. Did you guys see this? I am so bullish. Things I'm bullish on, Clippers. We recently at Rums HQ hired a team. We tried out several excellent candidates and hired a team of 3 crackerjack Clippers, people who go through, watch the show, and get a sense for the style of the show in order to present it in smaller, bite-sized bits. As you see content from us come across your socials in 2 to 3 minute chunks, it's their work. We've got Pixasso, we've got Tig, we've got T-Mighty, but the coolest thing about this, aside from their incredible work and the way they've gotten like the style of our showdown, is a lot of other people who trialed the clipping position or because their friends who are clippers are clipping have also started to clip the show. And I just wanted to put that out there to the audience. This is like something viable you can do, and giving a special shout out to Katsu, who's become a friend of mine, who is a great clipper and who has already posted, look at this, 2 clips from our stream today. He's got Ruto giving the summary of CoinMe and the sequence acquisitions, and he's got the Yankees Red Sox hat rivalry. So, Katsu,
beautiful,
dude, you are a fiend. Thank you for clipping the show. And if you want to do something to create content in the crypto space or any other space, you might consider clipping. If you're not interested in being on camera, I am convinced nobody is bullish enough on DeFi or Clippers. Clippers, dude.
Someone goes, "How do I short these Clippers?"
How do I Oh, no.
How do I short these Clippers?
I can't believe you would say that.
How rude.
Yeah,
long Clippers at 101x leverage always.
101.
Seriously, 101. Turn
Dude,
up
I remember
leverage.
I forget where we went, but it was like whatever.
Aster.
It was Aster.
Oh.
I was like, wait, what? It's like not only 100% leverage, but 101, or what? Not 100x leverage, 101x leverage. I was like, dear God! All of us were just like, oh,
Too much, man. Got to turn it back down to 100.
Too much, Jesus.
We've got just a couple minutes left here on the show before we ride our dogs and ponies into the sunset and head on over to the Circle after show. So, guys, it's the end of another great week. We've got a record of killer streams. It seems like every week just gets better and better in terms of the guests, in terms of the content. What do you guys want to touch on before we say goodbye for now and head over to the Circle sunset?
Me personally, I'm still looking for like a trade here or there. I've entered a few things and then removed them off the market and entered and had a stop loss hit and stuff. And I'm like still trying to see. I'm not looking to lose any money, right? So I entered a position. I've entered 4 positions now. I entered a position and I was like, and took it off. And I entered a position, then my stop loss hit, and I was like, okay, I lost like 1.5%, 2%. Entered again. I was like, again, not confident about it. Took it out. And then I entered again and I was up 7% and it didn't hit my double-digit sell target. And then I actually went and I moved my stop loss up to my entry position. I feel like it's a really important thing if you're up and it doesn't get to the point where you want to sell yet. I moved my stop loss up to where my entry was, so I can't lose money if I'm wrong. And then it turned back around and ended up not losing any money. So I was like, okay. So I've entered a few things. Like I maintain a bearish stance, so I'm like playing very conservatively and protective here, because I still don't see a bottom formation on Bitcoin's chart. Like I want to see it come back down to a double bottom, a clear higher low, something give me a little bit more confidence, or really break some key supports and really make a confident move up, and then come down something. Right, I'm still looking for that. But I've entered a few positions and just kind of taken them off one way or another. So I'm still looking to try to do a trade in a few altcoins, and we'll see what happens. So just want to let people know like how I'm playing the market at this current point in time, and I still have my dollar cost average going into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana.
Jeff Rascal asks, was Will involved with the Pokemon store in New York that got robbed yesterday? Asking for a friend.
I was in New York yesterday.
He was.
I was in New York yesterday.
And he says he went to lunch with Eric. They posted photo proof, but
They could have done it together.
We could have done it together, but I have a receipt with the timestamp.
Mm-hmm.
I have an alibi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, okay. He is suspicious. All right, well then, Will, I really appreciate that you gave that tidbit. So you're saying before you enter a trade, you've got your sell target. You know what direction you're betting. You've got a sell target. You put in a limit order, but you also use the stop loss, or you adjust your stop loss after the trade is open. If you're in the green to the entry price. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah, so I'll set up. If I enter into a position where I'm like, okay, like we just got above some support, but particularly if the candle hasn't closed, if that support hasn't really, or we got above resistance, I should say, like we haven't totally defeated that, I'll enter position just in case we did and we take off, and then I'll set a stop loss below, so I lose something like 2.5% or 2%. But if it holds, then typically I'm in a position where it's like, cool, I'm making 8% to 20% if this ends up being a really big run. So like I'll lose or remove way more trades than I win in the market. But when I lose, I just lose the trading fee, like the fee itself, or I lose a couple of percentage points. But I put myself in a position to, have double-digit growth in a spot. So it's like, I'll lose or remove way more positions than I end up winning, because I'm not the greatest trader in the world, but like I win, like money goes up in my net worth just because I make sure I don't lose, or when I lose very small. And when I win big. So like, I'm not the greatest trader in the world. You're also not going to be the greatest trader in the world. It's just not going to be. We're not professional baseball players when we played Pee Wees. Like you played Pee Wee, you're not going to be in the major leagues. You're not going to be playing for the Red Sox one day, right? Pick your analogy, right? We're not that guy or gal. So just put yourself in a position where you make sure you don't lose. And that way, when you do win, your net worth, it goes up. So it's good.
Excellent tip.
Yeah. And then, but the biggest thing though, Evan, that you said is if you do, in that case, like I went above resistance, I was like, cool, we might hold this as support. And then we took off, but it didn't hit what I wanted to hit, because I've seen it take off and I go, I'm going to be rich. And then it came back down. I was like, oh no. And this was one of those moments where it went past my entry point and then went way past, but I moved my stop loss up to be able to prevent me from being in a position where I was down. So adjust your stop loss up to where you bought if it does in fact start taking off and you were right, just to protect yourself. It's a very good strategy, and it helps you sleep a lot better at night.
Boy, does it.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to set stop losses, you don't know how to do limit orders, that also, once again, is a great topic to bring up in the Rise Up community.
Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen, let's do a round of final thoughts. Rada has requested, Will, that you touch Bitcoin before we go with your analytics. It does look like we've had a pretty good week. Most everything is doing this sort of up and to the right trend.
Just crossed 97,000 while we were doing the show.
Shout out to Bearded, who mentioned that Sol is back up over 145. BNB is creeping back towards 1,000. And I am not in any trades. I was not positioned for this growth. I'm just hanging on to my stables and DCAing
and not letting FOMO
that's right.
rule your decision making and put you in a position to lose. So very good, Evan.
Exactly
very,
right.
very good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we can touch on Bitcoin super quick, because I know that some of my Bitcoin update videos on TikTok get shadow banned. So we'll do it here as well. So let me just clear up the screen a little bit. Bitcoin is in what we call a bear flag pattern. So that is, and let me get my brush here. Let's see, what color do I have? Yellow. Let's actually change that into something a little different. Something a little bit brighter. Here we go. Yeah. So we have this pole right here, and then obviously this bear flag that is in yellow. Now, this pattern is a bearish pattern. Tends to break to the downside. Not always, but it does tend to break to the downside. In fact, Solana in November was in this exact same pattern. And actually what it ended up doing is it ended up coming right on top of this and then broke and then broke, right? So you can get a false bullish breakout. And we saw a perfect example of that in Solana not too long ago. So where Bitcoin could go up to is Bitcoin could go up and just want to test the very top of this bear flag, which for those of you in podcast land who may not be able to see this, maybe your eyes just aren't so good, that is $98,700 or so.
Thank you.
Yeah, so right there. And also the 200-day exponential moving average is sitting at 99.5 thousand, okay? So there's a lot of resistance there. At the same time, on the weekly chart, Bitcoin is right up in between the 55-week EMA and the 21-week EMA. So it's right in a pocket of like resistance here. In fact, the 21-week EMA is lining up, as you can see, perfectly with the very top of our bear flag. So there's a lot of resistance lining up just below 100K. And so Bitcoin could, and I talked about it this morning, could potentially get another squeeze upwards to that area, but understand that over the past few weeks, months really, going all the way back to November 11th, like we are still in a bearish pattern. Also, on the futures chart, on the 4-hour time frame, we do have a gap down at $88,300 right here. I can actually go to the futures chart and show you. Now, what I'm going to show you is a gap that exists on the 4-hour time frame, which is not nearly as impactful as gaps on the daily time frame are. So this is more likely to potentially be ignored, mind you. But you can see here on December 31st to January 1st, there's this gap in the chart that exists all the way down at $88,190. And we had a gap a little bit higher up. It formed a few days afterwards, but that got filled. And let me just do a quick health check on the Bitcoin futures chart. Oh, wait a second. Do we have another gap here? Hang on a second. The top of this candle on January 13th is $94,850. The bottom of this candle is $94,790. Okay, no, so that technically did fill it. Okay, I was wondering if we had a gap on the daily time frame. How about on the 4-hour? Do we have a gap as well? No, this did technically fill. I do see some people, though, argue that it is a gap if it's wicks that fill each other instead of bodies, but I don't necessarily pertain to that theory. But anyway, so I just wanted to check on that. So what I would love to see is for Bitcoin still is if this bear flag pattern were to break, the breakout target of this is roughly like $70,000 to like $64,000, which would be tough, but also a really great buying opportunity.
Would love it.
It'd be cool. But that could change if Bitcoin comes down and maybe holds this, and then we get a clear higher low and we launch upwards. Or I wish there was a faster way to delete all this. Or what would happen is Bitcoin comes down and creates like a clear double bottom here at 80,000, and then gave us another really large wick to the upside. That'd be a very clear bottom signal from Bitcoin and give us a chance that would say, hey, maybe this bear flag pattern isn't going to happen. But understand, and I'll end here. So just understand that while this pump has been nice, we're really close to a lot of resistance. We're in a macro bearish pattern. We don't have a bottom yet in the market, which is why the trades I've been looking to position are very conservative for me, as well as very short term, because I don't have those bottom indicators on a longer term time frame. The last thing I will say is there's more incentive in Binance right now in terms of a liquidation heat map, and I'll quickly show that. So there's like a tiny bit more money that they can make if price were to go upwards. but it's really a little bit more significant to the downside in the short term. So sharing my screen again here. Let me zoom in.
Oh, yeah. I wanted you to do the heat map. Hang on.
Yeah, hang on a second. Let me just
Go for it.
Yeah, so let's see. Did I mess this up? No, we're good. So if we zoom in right now, right here, you can see this tiny little bit of chunk here all the way up to about like $98.5 thousand. Like, there's about $1 billion worth of shorts that could still be liquidated if we go up to 98.5K. But then afterwards, it starts to peter out a little bit. You can see there's a little bit more dead space here until we get back up to near all-time highs. But if you look at below $90,000, it is rich with longs to liquidate. Rich with longs to liquidate. So the financial incentive for market makers, for Binance, insiders, is maybe we go up to like 98.5K, maybe, and get that last little bit of $1 billion of shorts to liquidate. And then you have multiple billions of dollars back in the $80,000 range, heading towards that futures gap to close. So I would just say, be conservative, control your emotions, and if you're entering trades, make sure you are protecting yourself so that you're either in a position where you win or you lose a tiny little itsy bitsy bit, right? Okay, that's it.
Doug said in the comments, pivot FOMO into paying attention.
Yes.
Good thing to do. Okay, gents. Excellent work, Will. Thank you for making the complex clear. Alex, have you got a final thought? A question? A prediction?
No, he doesn't know he's muted. I like it this way.
I do have a final thought. I did not know that I was muted. The dogs were barking.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I have an interesting one. I'm going to read to you all.
Love it.
The beginning of what I think could be a new ASMR series, which is titled "Bankers Complaining."
Okay.
And the following is some complaining from Brian Moynihan, who is the CEO of the Bank of America. So this is in response to a question about their response to the Genius Act being passed. The question is, can you guys share with us, as you know, the Genius Act was passed, a lot of talk about stablecoin deposits. I think they're now trying to figure out how to close a loophole so that stablecoin deposits cannot pay interest. If they're not, meaning Congress, if they're not successful in closing that loophole, what kind of impact do you think that are you thinking could happen from this trend in stablecoin deposits? And the answer is just fun. Okay, so he says, so I think I would not, I'm quoting directly here, by the way. This is not like paraphrased, and I actually can read. This is a transcript from a verbal answer, and so he kind of stumbles around a little bit. So I'll try to edit it on the fly so that it actually makes sense, because he kind of chokes on his words a little bit. So I think I would not look. We'll be fine. We have the product. We will meet customer demand, whatever may surface. So I don't worry about it. Sounds like you're worrying about it, Brian.
Yeah.
But the point we've tried to make, and if you look at some studies that I think were done by the Treasury, is that they say that you could see upwards of $6 trillion in deposits flow off of the liabilities of the banking system into deposits into the stablecoin environment. And so basically, I'll pause here to say he's concerned about his bottom line for sure. He goes on to say the key of that is to think that the restrictions to be a stablecoin, basically think of it as a money market mutual fund concept. It has to be invested in only deposits. Banking, Fed, or treasuries in the short term. He's getting a little confusing here. And so when you think about that, that takes lending capacity out of the system. And that is the bigger concern. Pay attention to this. That's the bigger concern we've all expressed to Congress as they think about this, is that if you move it outside of the system, you'll reduce lending capacity of banks. That particularly hurts small, medium-sized businesses. And man, if I know anything about the Bank of America, they are really out here just fighting for small business.
They just love us.
Thank you, Brian, you twat. Because they're largely lent to end-to-end consumers by the banking industry because they have no choice, you nitwit. Where capital markets-oriented companies go off, and I don't know, he ends with some gobbledygook that I can barely read. So he's admitting here, let's paraphrase. No, we're going to be fine. We're going to persevere. No, you're not. We're counting on it. The problem here is that all of the money that's currently deposited into banks doing nothing is going to get pulled out and put into the stablecoin ecosystem where it will earn something. And he's very concerned about that. And he's trying to frame it as a hurt against small business. And actually, as I scroll the comments, the first one that I see is from Mike, who says, he goes, Jesus Christ, Bank of America, at least lie. Don't say you're lobbying against the interests of your depositors because it's threatening your legacy business model. Here's a concept. Try innovating. And this is a quote tweet over an interest map from the FDIC published December 15th, 2025, which gives you the average interest rate and the spread that banks are currently charging, earning, and paying to depositors. So the average savings account interest rate is 0.39%. Treasury yield is 3.89%. The spread is 3.82%. Yeah, interest on checking accounts is 0.07, whereas the same thing is still earning 3.89% treasury yield. And then money markets is 0.58, also still yielding from the treasury 3.89. So they're keeping, I mean, someone who can do math, what's the percentage difference of 0.07 to 3.89? Because it's
basically 3.82.
Well,
3.89 minus
0.07 is not 3% of. That's the difference.
0.07.
I'm talking about like what
versus 3.89.
I know what the difference is. I want to know.
You want to know like how many times? How many times more?
So he can read.
It's about 50 times more.
Do math.
It's about 50 times more, right?
Yes. It's
they're giving you basically a 50th of what they make.
Yeah, it's 1%. It's 1% of the. It's 1% of the difference of the total amount. So they're keeping 99% of the yield. So that's what they're concerned about. They're concerned that interest on stables equals mass deposit flight. Fully reserved money means that there's no fractionalized lending, and banks lose all of their free funding and their profits fall off a cliff, which is hundreds of billions of dollars a year. And that is obviously a massive problem. And if the fragility of the banking system is not more clearly encapsulated by just those three little bullet points, then I don't know how else to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for
Brian.
the ASMR.
R.I.P., buddy.
Tori says, I
Hope
like
you
my
find your
ASMR
dad.
not to yell at me. Hope you find your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fellas, we got to go. It's been a great week. It's been a great show, but it's time to start the after show. I will be launching the stream there in Circle at about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. So refill your coffee, take a walk outside, do a little stretch, hug someone you love, and then come join us at community.rumshq.com. If you didn't get your question answered, if you just can't get enough, that's where we will be. Thank you, everybody, for being the very best part of what we do. Until next time, my friends, everybody stay safe, be well,